Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Leading this special newscast at 7 o'clock today, President Joe Biden approved another federal disaster for Kentucky, this one after storms in February. WYMT's RJ Johnson spoke with a local official about how the money will be spent.
Following the February storms, now more than 20 counties in Kentucky are eligible to receive federal aid.
That's the money is directly. You will apply for specific sites on specific roads, and it can only be used for what we apply for.
Perry County Emergency Management Director Jerry Stacy says the money will be used for roads damaged by landslides and floods. He says that some locations were so bad they already went ahead and repaired them.
We even started some of the work because some of it's so bad you can't wait on it. And, you know, as far as access, you know, certain areas cut off or almost cut off. School bus has not been able to access certain communities because roads are broken away.
Stacy says the process was difficult due to the many steps that they needed to go through, but he says it paid off.
You turn all that stuff in, goes through the process, you finally get the approval here. We've gotten a lot accomplished even already from the February event. You know, on the heels of dealing with the July event from last year.
Stacy says even though it is a long process, he is going to continue to make sure the people of Perry County are taken care of. In Hazard, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
And Stacy says there will not be any individualized funding from this disaster declaration. Well, today is the 11th annual Kentucky Gives Day. Nonprofits across the Commonwealth are participating in the campaign, which provides the organizations the opportunity to raise as much money as possible during the 24-hour period. Numerous nonprofits participating in Eastern Kentucky helped with flood relief efforts or were directly impacted. Doug Nazelrode, director of the Troublesome Creek Stringed Instrument Company, says donations have gotten them through many hard days following the flood.
More than anything else, contributions to our program and to rebuilding have helped us to get back up on our feet. It wouldn't have been possible without the generosity of a very long list of people, most of whom are in or from Kentucky.
Nazelrode says their programs are need-driven, and besides giving help, they need to receive help to continue their mission. During the last few months, Hazard ARH has opted to reduce the number of travel nurses coming to work at the hospital. That leaves some wondering how this might impact its quality of care. Hazard ARH CEO Brian Springate says this decision was the most financially responsible choice for the facility. He says ARH is aiming to focus on recruiting more nurses who will be staying in the area long term.
You know, you have a travel nurse. They're very hardworking people, but keeping in mind they could be very experienced, but they're coming in having to learn your community and learn your processes and learn your systems and learn your meds and learn your things.
Springate adds that although they are reducing the number of travel nurses coming to work at the hospital through partnerships with local colleges, ARH is looking to welcome a significant amount of long-term nurses in the future.
We stay mild and a little bit muggy into this evening across the mountains. Those current temperatures in the upper 60s and lower 70s at this hour, and we do fall into the 50s as we go into tonight. 68 in Jackson, 72 for London and Somerset, 67 over in Pikeville, and 73 at this hour over in Harlan. Those dew points, though, still in the middle to upper 50s, so we are still a little bit muggy out there, but notice dew points in the 30s and 40s off to the north, and that drier air will continue pushing into our direction as we go into Wednesday. Also into Thursday as well, before more mugginess returns by Friday, also into Mother's Day weekend. The good news, we are dry on radar, and that will continue as we go into tonight. If you have any dinner plans, we stay dry under a partly cloudy sky. Those temperatures falling into the lower 70s, also the upper 60s as we go into tonight. But as you wake up on Wednesday, temperatures may be a little bit chilly in the upper 40s and lower 50s. Also watching out for some patchy fog as you wake up on Wednesday as well. The good news, we are dry on Wednesday. Most of Thursday is dry, but rain chances look to return by Friday, also into Mother's Day weekend. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. A jury today in New York found former President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing advice columnist E. Jean Carroll in 1996. Jurors awarded her $5 million in a judgment. The verdict was announced in a federal courtroom in New York City. The jury took just 3 hours to consider the facts. They rejected Carroll's claim that she was raped, but found Trump liable for sexual abuse and for defaming Carroll after she made her allegations public. Trump did not attend the trial and was not there when the verdict was read. His legal team is preparing an appeal. Congressional leaders met with President Joe Biden at the White House today to try and negotiate raising the debt ceiling. It comes a little more than 3 weeks before the United States government is expected to run out of money. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
President Biden met with the top 4 members of Congress in the Oval Office to discuss how the U.S. will keep paying its bills on time.
We're going to get started. We're going to solve all the world's problems.
So far, neither side has been willing to budge. Republicans, led by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, have been demanding spending cuts to raise the debt limit.
Hopefully the attitude's changed and we can move forward.
President Biden had previously refused to negotiate on those terms. Last month, the GOP-controlled House passed a debt ceiling plan that would freeze federal spending at last year's levels, cutting the budget by almost 14%. The administration says those cuts would gut funding for some schools, food aid for seniors, and even health care for veterans.
The president has a different vision. Prevent default and invest in America while reducing the deficit by nearly $3 trillion.
With the clock ticking, the Biden administration has discussed invoking the 14th Amendment. It contains a clause that allows for public debt, which could allow the government to continue paying its bills after June 1st. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was asked about using the 14th Amendment over the weekend.
We should not get to the point where we need to consider whether the president can go on issuing debt. This would be a constitutional crisis.
Failure to raise the debt ceiling could mean a partial government shutdown and furloughs. That has the National Association of Government Employees suing Yellen and President Biden, arguing the debt limit law itself is unconstitutional. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Over the weekend, all but 6 Senate Republicans vowed to oppose raising the debt ceiling without substantive spending and budget reforms. Now, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy spoke to reporters outside the White House this afternoon after the meeting with the president, and it was a chance to discuss what they discussed with the president about the debt ceiling.
The United States is not going to default. It never has, and it never will. However, elections have consequences. We now have divided government. We didn't have a divided government last year.
Senator McConnell reiterated that the president and the Speaker of the House have to come to an agreement to solve the problem.